Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and in this video I'm going to be going over, analyzing, talking about the cinematic trailer video that Warcraft put out, part of a series. This one is the first one called Afterlives Bastion, and there's going to be one for each zone. So I'm going to kind of go through the cinematic first, explain, what I'm seeing in it. I'll provide some clips for context. If you haven't seen it, I do suggest you actually go watch the video. But I'll provide some clips for context, and then I'll talk about it a little bit at the end, what I think each thing might mean, and like important stuff that at least I think is important. Mostly opinion based, but perhaps dropping a little knowledge as well. So first of all, the cinematic starts up with a close up of Uther. You know it's Uther if you are into the lore of it. Otherwise, you find that out later on in the, not just the lore, but like if you know who Uther is from the game, like previously, he's made a few appearances in World of Warcraft, and obviously he's a main character of like the Warcraft universe. We then see Arthas approach him. This is the moment of Uther's death, the betrayal of the student versus the teacher. So we see the moment before Arthas slays Uther. As Uther's stabbed by Frostmourne, we hear him say, "Light, save my soul." This cry could be what stopped him from being fully consumed into Frostmourne, because Frostmourne, steals or absorbs the soul of people it slays. We next see Uther in Bastion speaking to the Paragon Devos, or I don't know how you say her name, but Devos, and I'll just call her Devos from now on. So Paragons are one of the higher ranking roles in Bastion. So it's the Archon's like the head role, and then the Paragons are like right under there. So they're very high ranking, and this is our introduction to Devos here. Uther is demanding justice and retribution on Arthas. Even though he's in Bastion, he's in his afterlife. He's very, adamant about that. Because he's struggling so much to let go of his former life, Devos takes it upon herself to train him. So this is not something a Paragon would normally do. She's past that point of training like a newbie. Because of the oddity of Uther, she starts doubting the ways of the Shadowlands. So the main thing in the Shadowlands is the purpose. The purpose gives each realm a job, basically, and you follow the purpose. That's like their thing that they follow. So like paladins, priests follow the light. Druids follow the Emerald Dream. In Shadowlands, you follow the purpose. And so she starts doubting the ways of that, basically. Uther can't figure out why he isn't ascending, why he can't forget, even if he wants to. And then he reveals to Devos that his soul is wounded by Frostmourne. He actually still has a wound on him, even though he's dead, and that shouldn't happen. So Devos is angered by this, like really angered, like unnecessarily angered in an odd way, and it sees a vision of the killing by touching the wound. So she sees Arthas do it, and this just infuriates her. Is here we see Uther's soul leaving his body in blue and in yellow. So in the first time we see Uther die, we don't see this part. When Devos is watching it, we see his soul basically split into two parts, and this is what a lot of people are theorizing, and I agree with. So the blue part is going into Frostmourne, and the yellow part is like going to Shadowlands, presumably. So that part is, I presume, saved by the light. So he says, "Light, save my soul." So that part got sent to Shadowlands just to give him a chance, right? So that's theorizing a little bit, but that's kind of what we're seeing there. Devos recognized the runes of Frostmourne in her vision as being from the Maw, and so she tries to rally the Kyrian to figure out what's going on with the whole situation. Like, something's wrong. Like, we have to figure this out. However, the Archon, the leader of the Kyrian, demands that Devos stands down and that everything is fine, everything is working as it always should. Just kind of like, go away, like shoos her away in essence, and doesn't take it seriously. Devos, out of anger, ascends Uther, even though he's not ready. Ascending means like, basically, in the easiest way to say it in Bastion is like you get your wings. Devos ascends Uther, even though he's not ready, because she now seeks the same retribution on Arthas as he does. He keeps saying it's justice, but it is kind of vengeance. They are both basically lost and wounded at this point. So like Devos, whatever is plaguing, like something was triggered in Devos, and she is like changed by this, right? The moment Arthas dies to our hands in ICC during Wrath of the Lich King, Devos grabs his soul before, whoever was supposed to grab it or wherever it was supposed to go, so they could torture him by throwing him into the maw. Arthas says, "I see only darkness," which we know he says that, but he's in this clip. It's when he's seeing Devos over him, which could mean something about Devos. It could mean something about Uther, or it could just mean that he's going to the maw. And we'll get into that part in a bit. Uther throws Arthas into the maw, but he hesitates. He says, "He was my student," emphasis on my, as if he should have some blame in what Arthas became. Like, he was my student. What, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. So he does have a moment of hesitation there, a moment of, maybe his former self. Devos pushes him to continue, and Uther obliges, and he says, "Not vengeance, but justice," because she keeps saying vengeance, and he keeps saying justice. But it does feel more like vengeance at this point, because, again, something's amiss here, something's wrong with the whole situation. So the main things I wanted to theorize about a little bit. First of all, I love the whole video. It was a really good video. Very well done by Blizzard. I think it was Taryn Gregory who was the lead of this, and they just did an amazing job. Their whole team did. I really enjoyed it. The one main thing, the first thing I'll talk about is there's some people who are not happy about the point of Uther being in it, because we've interacted with Uther on Azeroth, or in some way, shape, or form. There's a million ways you could explain this away, but I do get the not liking of it, basically. So you could just say a piece of his spirit was always at his tomb. You could say things like that, right? Like a ghost, a ghost is like a piece of the spirit locked in there in a certain place or something like that. Like, you could go with that explanation. You could use the explanation that part of his soul is in Frostmourne and reaching out to us. You could, there's different ways you could. Part of his soul was in Frostmourne, and the other part was in the Shadowlands. And so there's ways you could explain it away, but I do get the dislike of it. Hopefully they do come up with a reason that can at least satiate most people, although I know some people will always be angry about it. But I don't mind this at all, personally. I think there's enough ways to explain it. Typically, if you don't have to make a very specific, very convoluted explanation to something, then it's generally okay with me, because there's a bunch of vague ways you could explain it, and that's good enough for me, because you're not taking me down a long road of bullcrap to get to the explanation. So I'm personally fine with it. That's just my stance. I'm a little bit more positive, and because I generally love the whole thing. So another thing is, so he says, "Light saved my soul." So we assume that the holy light, that is what tried to save his soul, fractured his soul. This entire situation is what basically started this whole conclusion of events. And this has such huge ties, because we know that this has been going on since at least Legion. And with this, this entire thing could have been setting up. Obviously, they didn't know about this expansion back during Wrath of the Lich King, but the entire set of events has basically been taking place since then. So, Legion was leading up to this, and all of BFA was leading up to this. There's Old God ties to this. There's Dreadlord ties to this, and I'll explain that too. There's all kinds of things that they can go into, which will make this really kind of just an amazing storytelling expansion if they choose to go those ways. So if you don't know, Frostmourne, we've been told that Frostmourne and the helmet were forged by the same guy that's on top of the Torghast, and that's who makes our legendaries for us, if you don't know that, BFA. And we've been told that's where they're crafted. The runes on Frostmourne are supposedly from the Maw, which would make sense then. Now, I think if we could figure out what the rune said, that would tell us a lot about it, probably, maybe. But previously, we were thought to believe that the Dreadlord, the Nathrazim, or I don't even know how you say it, but the Dreadlords created Frostmourne and the armor for the Burning Legion to basically imprison Ner'zhul in. Ner'zhul, if you don't know, was the first Lich King before Arthas donned the helm. So it's possible that the thing on top of Torghast crafting this is somehow a Dreadlord. When they die, they're supposed to go to the Twisting Nether. But in some way, did a Dreadlord or a demon of some sort get sent to Torghast, either by mistake or by design, and did that set the whole chain of events in place? So does it go back even further? That's another cool thing to possibly think about. Was the creation of Frostmourne the way to start setting these events into place? To begin with, a long, long time ago. That's something cool to think about. You explore that on your own if you want. But I'm just throwing out ideas here that I've put a lot of thought into myself, because I just love kind of speculating on these kind of things, right? Another thing that really caught me when I was rewatching it for this video is they made a point to show Devos when Arthas is saying, all I see is darkness. Now, it could just mean the maw, right? It could just be straightforward. All he sees is that he's going to get thrown in the maw. It could mean Uther, even though Uther's not there in the video. Or it could mean literally Devos. So is there something evil in Devos? Is Devos a former evil person that somehow got sent to Bastion? Maybe Devos wasn't supposed to be in Bastion. Maybe Devos was supposed to be in Revendreth. So maybe there's been mistakes before. Who knows? I mean, but the main point here is, what's going on with Devos here? Does he mean all I see is darkness? Her, like, is that what he's seeing darkness in, like evil? Or is it just because, or she fine and then now she's just so corrupted with anger or whatever that all she has is darkness inside of her? That's possible as well. That was another one. And then the last big thing I wanted to kind of highlight here was the whole hesitation of Uther before he throws Arthas down to the maw. He hesitates. He goes, he was my student. And it's like he's like almost coming to, like, the real Uther wouldn't do this, right? It's not justice. What he's doing isn't justice. It is vengeance. He keeps telling himself it's justice, but it really isn't. And I'm not saying that Arthas doesn't deserve to get thrown into the maw necessarily for all the stuff he's done. But what I'm saying is, I don't think the real Uther would do that. So he's definitely corrupted in some way. It could be because his soul is split. It could be because of something that's going on in the Shadowlands from a long time ago, and it's just all coming to fruition right now from like a long-standing plan that's been in place. It could be any of those things, but he had a moment where he hesitated, and because of that, I think there is a chance that Uther could possibly be redeemed during this expansion, come back to himself, and possibly become like the leader of Bastion, or at least like a Paragon or something like that. And I think that's definitely a possibility, because he did have that hesitation where he could have just completely succumbed. And honestly, I get the feeling that if Devos wasn't there, he might have like spared him or did something else, like taken him back to Bastion, be like, what should I do with this soul, or something like that, right? So I do kind of feel that way. That was the vibe that I got, at least. So like I said, go, if you haven't watched this, if you haven't watched it at least twice, go through, watch it again now. If you haven't watched it once, definitely watch it. It's really good. Come to your own thoughts, come to your own theories, and put them out there too. Make sure you put them in the forums or in a Discord or whatever. If you have a really good theory, obviously you can comment below. That's only going to give you so much reach. But I love to hear the theories myself. So put them out there if you have them. So as always, I ask you to please subscribe to the channel, because that helps me out so much. And other than that, everybody, have a good one.